Thanks for tuning in to the Prime Bookseller Podcast, the bi-weekly podcast discussing all things Amazon bookselling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Prime Bookselling Podcast. I'm Eric, and this episode is going to be about a little bit different of an angle of here, but we're going to explain where the Keepa episode is. And this episode is probably not going to make a lot of sense to you if you don't know what Keepa is, but if you are a person that follows other people across the internet on Amazon bookselling and things like that, Keepa is a huge conversation point. And what Keepa is Keepa is just basically a large company that aggregates a lot of Amazon data and provides the data at this point, I think they are pretty much open about the fact that they're providing this information just to sellers and not to end customers. I think at one point in time, they were trying to play it off as that this was a service for customers, but it really isn't. So why would the rest of the internet just be talking about Keepa left and right, and we don't talk about it on this podcast? And there is a reason for that, and I thought for anybody that was kind of like sitting around waiting for the Keepa episode to come, it's probably not going to come, and that's because I really do not use Keepa. I do use Keepa in my business, but I don't use it at all in the traditional way that other sellers use it. And the number one reason for that, well, there's two really strong driving forces of the reason I don't do that, is because when I started my business probably 15 years ago at this point in time, Keepa didn't exist. So it was just not a thing that was there, and I never picked it up in my business because I never needed to, because guess what? You can run an Amazon business without Keepa. In fact, I would tell you that especially when you look at the world of bookselling, if you probably pick the 10 top booksellers in the United States, not a single one of them has ever looked at a Keepa chart. So it is not a requirement for an Amazon business. Now, I am very forthright. If you know how to use Keepa correctly, Keepa can be a very strong asset to your business because it does provide a lot of insight in a lot of data that you can't get from anywhere else. The problem is that what I see a lot of out there is that sellers that are starting up see on the internet everybody raving about how you have to use Keepa for your business. So they start using Keepa, and for the most part, they just kind of create their own system of using Keepa without really truly understanding Keepa. And in the end, all they're doing is creating themselves additional sourcing work. And what I mean by that is that Keepa provides these bar charts that gives all sorts of pricing information, sales rank data, blah, 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 to you. But it's a very manual process to look at it and evaluate it. And I've compared a number of sellers that use Keepa rather extensively in their business for like every purchase of an item they buy. And my sales figures generally come in very similar to their sales figures. So that leads me with the belief that Keepa isn't pushing their business forward that much. It's more or less just becoming a time drain for them. And that's fine if you want to, I'm a big proponent of you have to do what feels right to you. So if it does feel right to you to check every item on Keepa and you feel like you're accomplishing something by that, I'm completely in support of that. I leave it off of something, especially like this podcast, because I feel like as a beginning Amazon seller, there is a lot to learn. The Amazon platform is not a simple platform to use, to get used to get familiar with. Generally, an Amazon bookseller is going to be a first-time business owner, so there's the whole aspect of everything you need to learn about running a business that plays into it. So there is just a ton of stuff to learn. And my theory is like, let's strip out some of the complex stuff and just start people out at a very basic level that works, and then they can build on to that over time. Nowadays, there are probably booksellers that that launch from day one with Keepa in their arsenal, but for the most part, like a lot of the seasoned booksellers, they added Keepa into their business at a later point in time, and they were operating their business successfully before then. So it must obviously work to operate a business without Keepa. We are not going to delve deep into Keepa. I do want to be very clear, though. It's not that I'm a hater of Keepa or anything like that. I just feel like for you as a beginning seller to throw that on top of everything else you need to know is probably a mistake. Right now, you need to focus on getting comfortable with the Amazon platform. You need to get comfortable with sourcing books in the simplest possible way. And you need to get familiar with just running a business day to day. Understanding what it takes to make money, what that looks like, reframing your mind so you know how to build things. And I mean, there's just so many aspects of it too that I feel like the value you gain from Keepa, I'm not telling you to never use it. I'm certainly say, hey, 5 years from now, if your business is running smoothly, you know Amazon inside and out, by all means, buy somebody's Keepa course, take it. Try to learn as much as you can about it and see if you can work it into your business. But for right now, I think you have enough other things to worry about that you don't need to be worried about how to read a bar graph. And inevitably, you start up your business, you start it without Keepa. 5 years down the road, you might just realize that I like the way I run my business now. I don't need to add Keepa into it to make me a better seller because I'm perfectly content. And that's kind of where I have fallen onto this. And I don't think by any means that that's a bad way to fall into it. So I guess the moral of the Keepa episode, as I call it, is to just realize that Keepa is a tool that is, while the rest of the internet may put a lot of stock in it and say your business can't run efficiently without it, I can assure you there are plenty of Amazon businesses out there running that are not utilizing it. And generally, I myself, maybe if you're more of an analytical person or more of a numbers person, but bar graphs don't make any sense to me. So even if I were to sit down and really try to understand a Keepa chart, it probably wouldn't help me anyways because I wouldn't really understand it. So we're excluding it because to me, I think it's more confusing than what it's worth. Now, with that said, I do have a friend that does also run an Amazon bookselling business, and he uses Keepa heavily, but he automates all of that Keepa process. And I personally think that if you're going to be heavily reliant, if you believe that Keepa is the end all be all to selling on Amazon, that is the process you should look at doing, not manually looking at a bar chart for every purchase that you have to make. So my advice for anybody is that if you are insistent that Keepa does need to be part of your business, then I would approach it from the more automated side of things. How can I use this data, leverage it to make better decisions, but in an automated process where maybe I take Keepa's data and have something automatically make decisions for me rather than me having to look at a chart and make the decision on my own. Because when you're selling books on Amazon, it's a lot about it, a lot in and a lot out, and having to take your sourcing decision from 5 seconds to 45 seconds, that really slows down your business. And in my opinion, if you're going to slow your business down in that dramatically from 5 seconds to 45 seconds, whatever's taking 40 seconds better be adding a lot of value to your business. And from the tests I've run with people that use Keepa as opposed to my sales statistics, I just simply don't see that. I don't see the value in it. So unless you're going to automate it so you can take that 50 seconds down to like 10 seconds, I don't know. I'm very, very skeptical that you're getting value out of that. So, but again, I go back to the point of I encourage everybody to not worry about Keepa now. But once you get more familiar with the Amazon platform, once you've been selling for a while, then that's the time when you can go back and master this skill. And maybe you master it and you see, you know what? I don't think this adds value to my business. Or maybe you master it and be like, wow, I wish I would have done this 10 years ago and not listened to that guy on the Prime Bookselling podcast. And please, if you get to the point where you're that guy, you have my email address, email me, come on the podcast, and because I'd love to hear your arguments for the case for Keepa. So with that, that's all I really wanted to say about the missing Keepa episode. And if anybody does have questions about it, please feel free to reach out to me, sales@KingsRidge.media. And we do have sourcing options for everybody to get more books for their story. You can find those at the links in the show notes, or jump over to kingsridgemedia.com and check it out. Book a call with us and we can help you get started. Thanks a lot, everybody, for the continued support of this podcast. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Prime Bookseller Podcast. Join us for the next episode as we discuss all things Amazon bookselling.